Meanwhile, her campaign is reportedly telling Wall Street donors to donate as soon as possible because they may not be able to once she makes her VP pick. An intriguing new report from Axios this morning notes this. The campaign is citing a financial pay-for-play rule that bars contributions to tickets featuring a sitting governor. That's according to several people familiar with the matter. The report further states that some within the financial industry think they have until Sunday to donate. Should that be the case, it would indicate that two on the reported running mate shortlist, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, would be out of the running because this applies to sitting governors, and there are several who she is considering. The Reverend Al Sharpton is still with us for this hour, we're happy to say. And also joining the discussion is former MSNBC host and contributor to Washington Monthly, Chris Matthews. Chris, we will start with you with this VP speculation, this report from Axios that suggests that she could be eyeing governors. That could include Governor Walz of Minnesota, Governor Shapiro of a state you know well, Pennsylvania, among others, Governor Pritzker of Illinois, Governor Beshear of Kentucky. What's your read of the landscape right now?
Well, this morning I was very impressed by Mark Kelly, and that's a good name in Philadelphia, not just because of Grace Kelly, but the whole family. It's a good name. Harris Kelly's a good ticket. He's strong. He can talk. Biden got too old to talk. He wasn't very effective on the stage, on the debate stage. This guy can talk. You can tell it from his manner. He's got a military background. He's a regular guy. I think he's really the one to do it. The important thing is he goes on the offense. He was very good this morning on Good Morning, on Morning Joe. Really good. And I think the fact that he can talk and he will take this fight. The governors are used to being bipartisan. They don't know how to really sell it in a partisan way. This campaign has to be on the offense. If the Democrats go to defense, they can lose. I know they're going to lose, but I'll tell you, they got to stay on offense. They got 100 days to go, almost 100 days. The first 50 days should be entirely attack. And going after Trump and his record. And by the way, I always wondered how Hillary, and I could never figure this out. When she was debating Trump and that guy got behind her, like this big bully in the schoolyard, stood behind her, what could she do? And I've never been able to figure out what she could do. But here's what she could do. You know, what Vice President Harris can do. She says, tell it to my face. Tell it to my face. Turn around on the guy and say, tell that thing to my face. Because that kind of street level, talk to people the way you would with a bully in a schoolyard is key to dealing with Trump. Talk to him like he is a bully. That's how you do it. You're Goliath. He's a Goliath. You're David. Play David. You're not a woman of color. You're the underdog historically, let's face it, certainly historically as a woman and a woman of color besides. Make Trump be the big gorilla. Let him be the bad guy, the Goliath in this race. I think it's really important to keep this going. Don't turn to defense. Fracking, right move. Immigration, she's getting in the right direction. I would take that Langford proposal, Senator Langford's proposal, with Mark Kelly and say, look, I'll take it. I'll be a Democrat. I'll take it. I know it's mostly a Republican bill, but I'm going to show some action on the border. I'm going to do it even if Trump is still standing in the way, and then force him to do it again. Stick it to him on his criminal record, on his abuse of women, the whole story, Access Hollywood, never stop, because now Democrats are taking the fight into the arena. They're not using the courts, not some liberal court in New York with Alvin Bragg. They're talking about in the fight itself. If she goes out there and fights as David against Goliath, she'll win.
So, Chris, let's have a follow-up with a geography question, if you will. So much talk is about how a running mate should try to balance a ticket, but also try to expand the map, particularly in a battleground state. But if you look through recent presidential history, Senator McCaskill and I were talking about this earlier, it's actually pretty few and far between where a running mate is selected because that person could put a state in play. Famously, LBJ helped John F. Kennedy win Texas, but usually the running mates come from pretty safely Republican or Democratic states. This time around, there are two. Kelly, who we interviewed earlier today on Morning Joe, Arizona, and then particularly Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Those are big-time battleground states. Pennsylvania, arguably the biggest of all. Do you think that should factor in to what the vice president's decision?
Well, let's talk Pennsylvania. And you got Kanaki. Kanaki knows this stuff, too. You got 67 counties in Pennsylvania. For a Democrat to win, you can win 14 counties. That's Pittsburgh and all the area around Philadelphia. You got to win in the Lehigh Valley. That's the key place. You got to win Wilkes-Barre. You got to win Erie. There's a lot of interesting places you have to win. But I think Kelly can sell because he's a fighter and a talker. I think he or Shapiro would be great. But the fact is they've got to take this again back to Trump. Make it about Trump and J.D. Vance. If you talk about her switching on fracking, what about J.D. Vance? He switched on Trump. He went from the biggest knocker of Trump in the Appalachian vote and all that sociology stuff to being his biggest lover. He's a joke. He's a joke. And not everybody knows it. I think the two Trump kids who picked him apparently must be embarrassed that they told their dad to pick this guy. They should have picked Burgum, who he would have been a good, solid business guy from the Dakotas, and they would have made him Trump more the business guy, more the energy guy. It would have made sense. Are you listening, Donald Trump? You made a mistake by listening to your kids. Pennsylvania is going to be drawn on fracking, and she's got to deal with the border issue effectively and not just using language, oh, Donald Trump screwed this thing up. No, she's got to say, I'm for it. I will be for the bipartisan bill. I dare Trump to do it now. Keep saying you're not going to do anything because you're not doing anything.
Chris, I agree with you that she must take him on in a David versus Goliath way, and I think a fighter, and as we look at this list, I, too, was impressed with Kelly, but I also think Tim Walz in Minnesota is in line with some of what the vice president did as a senator.
How come we've never heard of him? Reverend, how come I've never heard of the guy?
Let me make
if
my
he's
point.
A big talker, we have never heard a word from this guy.
Well, but I think that when you look at his record with George Floyd and other things, he could be added. I think that Shapiro could be added. I think that any of the list has its assets, but I agree with you that I was impressed with Mark Kelly. How much of it do you think, though, going to your point, is about having a vice presidential candidate that can bring in certain regions or having one that can help with turnout? Because historically, people vote for the president, not the vice president.
Yeah, I've voted all my life, and I've got to tell you, ever since I could vote, and I have been affected by running mates. I remember voting for Humphrey, and Nixon was promising to end the war, and everybody said, well, Nixon's going to end the war because he doesn't care about this war in Vietnam. But Humphrey had the civil rights record going back to 48, and I said, that's really strong for me. And secondly, he had Muskie, a good running mate. I think that running mate has to be tough, and they have to be outspoken. He can't just let the candidate for president, for her to do all the talking. He has to be he has to land a punch in boxing. You know, boxing, you got to land a punch so it shows for a couple of days. It can't just be a shot. It's got to be a punch, and it's got to hit for a while. And people got to say, wait a minute, talk to my face, tell that to my face. That's something that those African-American women in that picture we just saw this morning were all loving it because they know what that meant. You got to take the bad guy on, whoever it is. And I think he knows how to land a punch. So I'm looking at guys who can punch and leave a mark on the face. I mean, basically make the guy, like, remember Tricky Dick? You know, once that woman in California called Nixon Tricky Dick, he could never get over it, ever. And I think he's got to be as tough as the vice president. By the way, the vice president is so improved as a candidate. I have never seen it. Maybe it's just the fact that she's taken over. Just 2 weeks ago, people on the right would say, oh, I can't. You think Biden's bad? You should see her. She's terrible. Well, I don't think they're saying that anymore. I think they're saying, my God, what are we up against? I think it's, and by the way, it's a British-style election. It's less than 100 days. This is classic. There are things you can do now really quick. And if you put the focus on Trump, not on her, on Trump, make Trump play defense all the way, all his crimes and awful statements, and it's all on record, it's all on tape. Like, I want there be some form of punishment for women who have abortions. And by the way, if you don't have kids, I want them to be punished too, by the way. I mean, all this stuff's on tape. It's just, if I were her, and going into the debate, I'd say every shot I take at Trump, I'm going to make sure there's videotape to back it up and dare the networks not to show the videotape, including Fox. Just show the tape. Let's go to the tape and show what he said himself. If he wasn't convicted of a crime, he admitted it himself. I think you got to be very aggressive. I mean, this is what I grew up in politics. I love it. I think she can win with it. And if she goes on defense, she's making a big mistake. Big mistake.
a British-style election, except, of course, for the money. There have already been multiple millions raised on that side.
A lot of dollars, not pounds.
So who can throw a lot of dollars? Who can throw and take punches? And we mean, of course, politically speaking, not physically speaking. We will know next Tuesday. Chris Matthews, thank you very much.